Hey Divinity, I had made a comment on your previous video. I thought that I would respond to this video here with a video response. So your question is, what can we do? What's something proactive where we can put the reins back in our hands? I have 4 points here that I think can get us started proactively. This is not a comprehensive plan, and each of these points have problems associated with them. But I think this is the kind of discussion we need to be having. This is really where we need to be focusing on ways that we can take control out of the hands of the people who have them right now. How we can kind of alter the climate of energy production in this country. So, point one: in subsidies for the oil industry. This is an enormous amount of money, $4 billion going into the industry, and we don't see a whole lot for our money. It doesn't really bring down the price of gas. It doesn't really increase or improve the service. It's just money coming out of the public coffers. And I think even people who are in favor of free markets should be against subsidies for the oil company. Even if they do drive down prices at the market, if you're a free market thinker, like, that's a bad thing. The prices need to be where the market naturally wants them to be. That way, competition can really thrive. There can be an incentive for other energy sources to be developed. Point two: invest in algae-derived biofuel. Now, freeing up $4 billion out of the budget, in addition to saving us money, can be turned around to invest in the kinds of technologies that are pro-social. So why pick algae-derived biofuel? Well, there's a couple reasons, a couple strengths of this technology. First, it can be used as part of the sewage treatment cycle. That's something that we're going to have anyway. Sewage is a product of cities. It has to be treated. If we can get a fuel source coming out of this necessary process, then we're better off for it. Additionally, to cover sort of the rest of the energy needs, algae-derived biofuel, as opposed to other biofuels like ethanol, doesn't have to be used on any other kind of usable land. You can set it up in any kind of environment, greenhouse, hydroponics. You can, given the right conditions, you could just set it up in your own apartment. So I think this is by far a superior form of doing business. Point three: strategic use of solar technology. Now, I'm not really for or against enormous solar farms. They cost a lot to set up. Once they're set up, they produce power pretty steadily, but it's just a really low amount of power overall compared to the technologies they're in competition with. But where I am focusing is on solar technology on the small scale. Every house, every building in America should have a solar panel built into it somewhere, somehow. We have a certain power consumption that is just, you can consider standard in any building. You have to run things like your refrigerator, require electricity pretty much constantly. Meanwhile, you have the roof of your house where you have to insulate against energy from the sun. Well, why keep all that? Why insulate all that energy, reflect it back into the atmosphere? Why keep it out when you could be generating power out of some of it? Now, there's a disadvantage to putting solar power into homes, which is they're full of toxic chemicals. So you're increasing the damage that comes out of a collapse from earthquake, hurricane, some other disaster, house fire. But I think given just the right size of solar battery cells used as roof paneling, every house and every building in America, we can really substantially impact our energy usage right at the source. Point four, this takes us back to the oil industry. There needs to be a one strike and you're out policy in terms of tax exemption. I don't particularly have a problem with companies, oil companies receiving tax exemptions, but let's hold on to this as an incentive, a way of altering the behavior of the company. When you have this kind of a disaster where it is easy to show that you have not done your due diligence, then you need to lose all of your tax exemptions forever. One strike and you're out. You should be billed for the damage that your negligence has caused. You should not be allowed to write any of that off in taxes whatsoever. So those are my 4 points for what can we do to get started. But apart from that, because I think a large part of your question doesn't involve, the technical aspects of what do we do, how do we move forward, but the sociological, the personal, the emotional. And there, I think it's important to say we have to keep our heads on our shoulders. As skeptics, we need to remain skeptical, even if people are telling us what we want to hear. If it's the good news we want to hear, or if it's the bad news that we want to hear, we still have to remain skeptical. And on top of that, and this is what's most important, we have to maintain hope. We have to stand against the hopelessness of people telling us we're already past the brink, there's nothing we can do. We have to maintain hope that together we can pull through this. We have to, but we can. All right, so that's what I have to say on the subject. Thank you for bringing up this conversation.